Laurie, what do you? This is your first year with Standard Times.
Yes, it is.
Is there a kid that you interviewed or that you saw this year that kind of impressed you? Someone that you did a story on, or was there one kid that kind of stood out as something interesting that you can
As
recall?
far as to the next level for
Not
college, or
necessarily, just someone who impressed you. You.
I mean, I would have to say Anna Fried Sinjor. She's
Mhm.
a track star at New Bedford High. And, she was one of our best 400 runners in the
Mhm.
area. She's a senior, 4-year varsity, athlete, player. And she just, besides being a standout athlete, she cared a lot about our team.
Mhm.
And, I mean, she was like another coach. And if anybody knows anything about track, they know that those teams have, 100 kids on it. And, you may have the head coach, Tom Giason, and you may have a couple assistants, but you really need someone to be like that leader.
So she was a leader.
Yeah.
Now she came from she had kind of a rough start to life too, didn't she? What was her story?
Her parents had died when she was young. I don't remember what age it was, but she was taken in, I think, by an aunt and brought up by her aunt. But she, she's one of those kids that really, it's not about herself. It's more about helping her team out, and she was a good captain this year because of that.
Do you know if she's going on to a college program or?
I think she is going to college. I'm not sure if she's going to be running. I mean, it's a lot different with track,
Yeah.
unlike football or basketball. I mean, you can easily get onto a track team,
Yeah.
with or without a scholarship. I don't know if she did get a scholarship or not.
And track's one of the few sports where, I mean, everything else it's kind of subjective. If you're on a football team, it's how good was your competition. What kind of coaching do you have? In track, it's basically, I jumped this.
Yep.
Okay, you're good enough to jump for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had some pretty good track athletes over the year. We had a girl about 10 years ago named Heather Francis who went to Dartmouth High. Actually, it's probably 15 years ago, and she jumped. I believe she jumped 6'1" in high school, which for a girl is extremely good. And she was kind of on an Olympic track, and it just didn't work. She got a Division I scholarship to UConn. It didn't work out for her. So, but that story's apropos of nothing.
Well,
But Heather Francis, if you're out there, we're thinking about you.
It does show, though, that the athletes in this area, a lot of the kids that are out there will try to use that crutch of, well, hey, we're just from New Bedford. We're just from this area. Nobody pays attention to this area. Everybody thinks we're all going to go to UMass or Bridgewater. And they don't realize that. They are looking at this area. There are
Right.
some extremely good teams in this area, especially when it comes to football and basketball, which are the two most highly recruited sports, for these high school kids. They need to realize, too, that you can't just because you can get away with coasting, through 4 years of a sport because you're the best kid in the area, it doesn't mean that, you're going to be the best kid when all the best kids are lumped together. And that's kind of the reality check I was talking about with Justin. Is it, do you think that because you played with a Jordan Todman and Artie Lynch, guys that are going to D1 schools, did it kind of slap you in the face earlier to say, whoa, that's what it takes to be one of these guys? Just having the most catches and the most yards doesn't mean that I'm one of those guys. And I think that that's what kids are starting to realize now that they're scouting this area and they're interacting with these scouts. They realize, yeah, it's more than just being the best kid on the team. That's not an automatic scholarship.
I know. I had an interview yesterday with Steve Wynn. He's going to be a sophomore at New Bedford High, and I mean, just listening to his schedule this summer between showcases, the Bay State games, his AAU team, just different camps and clinics. I mean, this kid is pretty much playing basketball every single day this summer, and he said a lot of it, is going to the showcases, going to the clinics, the camps, seeing these other kids that are, McDonald's All-Americans, and seeing where he stands with them and getting his name out there. I know his father, also Steve Wynn, same name. He said, sophomore year is one of the most important ones, as far as recruiting and scouting, for the college coaches to kind of see the kids, get the kids' names out there. And I mean, he's on a fast track.
Well, I mean, you talk to these kids and you see a lot of these kids in different sports that have that kind of commitment schedule during the summer and during weekends. And like Phoebe LaPlante, she's another one where every weekend she's doing something. Do you think that
Bishop
maybe,
Stang, right? Phoebe
Yep.
LaPlante?
Yep,
Do
junior.
do you think that maybe this is a situation where they're doing too much now? We talk about the resiliency of youth and how you're young and you can get away with doing it now, but are they going to be burnt out? Are they going to be played out by some point in their career? Are they not going to make it through college if they have to do all this work when they're still high school sophomores?
I mean, I don't know personally, but I don't think I'd be able to keep that schedule up if I was, in high school. And that's the one thing, that's good about, a 3-sport athlete like Phoebe is, even though she's doing 3 sports, they're all different. When you specialize in the one sport, I mean, you do run the risk of, are you going to get burned out? Are you going to get sick of the sport? Are injuries going to, start piling up?
But are you gonna make it
that's
without? I mean, you have to choose. Do you want to take a shot at really making it, or do you? I mean, it is. I mean, and plus for it's a chance to get free college scholarship. I mean, you're talking about
And in this area,
$70,000. I mean, I have a son, and I would like him to enjoy every minute of his life. But if he's got a shot to win a $70,000 scholarship, I might be more prone to push him than to say, hey, I mean, you do at some point, and you say, well, are you making these kids grow up too fast? Well, you're not pushing them to, start a family. You're pushing them to play sports more aggressively.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's if you've got a kid that's a good athlete, aren't a lot of them the ones that make it? Aren't they the ones that are driven?
they already have that.
They have that in them. So you hate to see a case where parents are pushing their kids.
And the kid's horrible.
And the kid doesn't have the ability, and you do see it.
Sure.
Not necessarily the kids that are terrible, but there's a lot of people. I bet if you take the average roster of a team around here, 5 of them on each team legitimately thinks that they're going to get that they are college scholarship worthy, when in fact maybe 2 or 3 in the whole area will get that, because it's it's incredibly competitive. I mean, it's you're funneling 1 million kids who play sports, or 5 million kids who play sports, and you're boiling it down to 50,000 jobs. I mean, it's harder than getting a job here in the Standard Times sports department.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the kids, that like Steve Wynn and some of the other kids, they got to realize, what their goals are, and what their priorities are. I mean, that might be with what happened with Justin Mello. Maybe one of his priorities was, to be close to home, or, I mean, and try and walk on the team. I mean,
he's going to UNH.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes. UNH. I know my cousin Brent Almeida. He played for Fairhaven High School baseball.
Name drop.
And hey, I'm proud. I'm a proud cousin. And he's at Bryant University. This is his senior year coming up, and he's on a scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy. It was he played 3 sports at Fairhaven, and eventually by his senior year, I think he was down to just 2, because he wanted to focus on baseball, and it paid off. But he didn't go D1. But even though Bryant is now D1,
right.
But
worked out well for
yeah,
him.
and I mean, even if you don't get a full Division I athletic scholarship, there's a lot of money out there for athletes to get. So.
I mean, I'll say this. I mean, Justin Mello, he's a kid who he thought that he had potential.
Justin Mello is not a kid. He's a man-child.
Okay, well, he knew that he had the potential to maybe get a scholarship, but that he didn't do enough in his younger days. And I can understand that.
That was his take on it.
That's what he said. I mean, basically, he said, if he had done more to kind of get his coach's attention and to become more of a focal point, as a sophomore and even more so as a junior, then he would have had a better shot.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. And then, Sean Sylvia, he says, there's more work that I need to do between now and the college level to be that type
because
of
he's the
player.
quarterback for Dartmouth High, and he is going the prep school route.
He's going to Cheshire Prep and
because it's funny. I for some reason I had the misconception that he was a short quarterback, because he maybe it's because he's always standing next to Justin Mello, and Justin Mello is. I don't know. He just looks like. Have you ever seen this Justin Mello kid?
They're a tall group of guys over there.
But Sean Sylvia, he's 6'1", which is legitimate college size, and he certainly can throw. So,
I mean, but he just knows that he needs to move from being a high school student to being a college student. He needs that, a little bit of help in between.